Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Paddock Girls podcast. This week, Mel and I have an amazing author with us. We would love to welcome Simone Soltani. I think I'm saying that right?
Soltani, yeah.
Soltani.
Yeah.
Thank you. She is joining us, and you might have heard her. We covered her books in the past episode. It was Cross the Line and Ride With Me, and we love them. Thank you so much again for joining us, by the way. We can't wait to dive into your stories. We really loved reading them. I think rave about them almost every book club episode, and we probably need to stop doing that, but it's just
I appreciate
big
it.
Fans.
Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah, big fans over here. So Simone, we're gonna start off hot and fast, I guess you could say.
Yeah, let's go for it.
I definitely want to know what drew you into writing the Lights Out series.
So I have loved Formula One for over a decade now. So back when I was in college, I had a friend who was like vaguely into it, and I was, sort of aware, before that. And it's like I knew about Michael Schumacher and all the drivers back then that were like big and hot and that kind of thing. And I have been following the sport closely, and I saw that there was this uptick in sports romance, but most of it was hockey. And while I do enjoy hockey, I cannot deny that, it's not my favorite sport. And I was kind of driven to write about my own favorite sport, which is Formula One. And so back in probably, I want to say maybe 2020, I started writing down all the little ideas that I had, not just for one book, but for a series. So it's kind of been one of those things where I've been planning the whole thing since the very beginning, because I had so many ideas that I was like, well, I can't limit it to just one book. It's not all going to fit in there. And so, the series was kind of born from there.
Nice. I love that. I'm happy you were able to get that out.
Yeah, for real. So I have to say then, oh, that was my chair. So as a reader, I love the Lights Out series. We ended up reading both books, like we said, for the podcast. But what I noticed is there was like a vast, that's my laptop. There was like a vast difference in the relationship styles, I want to say, like the communication between them, like their passion between the two main relationships. So what was it like going from, again, opinion, a more fluffy romance filled, like between Willow and Dev, to more passionate, like, oh my God, I'm throwing my book right now, filled story with Stella and Thomas? Because yes, I did throw my book during the Vegas strip club scene.
No shame in it. No shame in it.
No shame at all.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I really think it depends on, first of all, the characters that you're working with and the story you're trying to tell. So when it comes to the characters, it's just like not everyone is the perfect match for a fluffy romance. Not everyone is the perfect match for lighthearted and just sweet and cutesy and that kind of thing. It's like, Willow, and in her story, she has that kind of personality. She's very cotton candy sweet. She's, very sort of caring and soft. And in comparison, Stella from book 2, she is very caring, and she loves the people that she loves, and she loves hard, but she is outgoing, and she is loud, and she is confident, and she knows who she is, and she wants the world to know it. And so, with those very different personalities, that means there's going to be a very different love story going on. And I do think that they each found their perfect match because, in book 1, he's definitely a goofball. He's also soft. He's, kind of, just a golden retriever energy, and just wants to have fun and make everyone happy. And then, in comparison in book 2 with Thomas, he's, a little uptight. He's very posh. He's very British, very upper class. I have very old money, kind of personality that kind of needed to be drawn out of its shell. So yes, he had the confidence, but always it was a quiet confidence, and only kind of in more private moments. And so I feel like with him and Stella, it was her being, loud and proud and confident in public, and her kind of pulling him out of his shell. so that he could, you know, match her energy in that way. And it was something he enjoyed and something he liked. And so these two very different relationships, you know, kind of require two different styles of books. So you have your cutesy, fluffy romance, and then you have your kind of more grown and sexy romance with Thomas and Stella. So, you know, it was definitely an interesting shift to go from, oh my gosh, fluffy cute, to, oh, okay, here we go. We're getting a little sexier here.
Spicy.
Yes, exactly. But it fit the characters and it fit the relationships that they needed to have. And, you know, I love writing both. I love writing a variety of different relationship styles. And, you know, there is the constant of mutual respect. And that is the one thing that I think is very important in all the relationships that I write. It's that mutual respect. It's that mutual care for each other. It's that we are equals in this relationship. And, you know, despite the different outward styles, it's kind of the same on the inside when you break it down.
No, I honestly, I remember when we were doing the episode review, there was a point in it where we talked about, it was specifically Stella, like how she was in her relationship. And I was like, this is someone that, like, there's always respect. You, like, both of them have so much respect for one another, because like, there was scenes where they were either arguing or fighting. And I was like, I love how they handled everything.
Yeah, it's like there was always
there some moments,
communication.
It was so good. Yes. And Stella was so big on that. Like, she was so much like, I have a business, like, you know, I'm already independent, I have everything, it's just, this is something. And I'm like, yes, it's a want, not a need. And it was so fun to watch. So, well, read. Sometimes I felt like I was watching it, like the way you write.
I feel like
I was like watching
sometimes.
a TV show.
Yeah, no, that's a really important thing to me. You know, it's that these two are individuals that, when they are together, they make each other better. It's not like you're completing one half of a whole. It's that you are both whole people on your own, but when you are together, you are so much stronger, and, you know, you have this great connection there.
Yeah, I like how you added that. It's like kind of like not taking away from the person, but it's more so like they're adding on, like the relationship or that significant other is like adding on to that person's life, because like that's what I mean. I feel like essentially that's like what you want at the end of the day. So when that is an addition, a little extra in there. So I know.
Yeah, you want someone who's going to make everything better. You know, it's like you can have a great, wonderful life on your own, and nothing can take away from that. Yeah. But when you add this extra element of, you know, this new person, this new personality, this new energy, it should lift you up.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I hope that came across.
No, it definitely did. I appreciate the way that you like had explained that, like those dynamics, like it, like Chelsea said, it was just like I was watching the movie and I was just like, yes, let's keep going.
Oh, I love that.
Because I remember like texting her like after like the Vegas, especially like with Ride With Me after the Vegas like strip club scene, I messaged her and I was just like, yeah, so we're starting off hot and heavy, like first few chapters.
Because you were ahead of me. She had started the book before me, because I was still on Cross the Line. And she was like, warning, because I always feel funny when they read like spicy. I'm like, oh my god. And she's like, warning, there's spice very quickly.
It happens very fast in that book. And, you know, and that was just, it's also the nature of the trope as well. So when you're kind of like, all right, well, I have to have these two kind of have a pretty instant connection, at least physically, to get them into this strange situation of, oops, we accidentally got married in Vegas after meeting each other, you know, what, 4 hours ago, something like that.
Literally,
so it's like you have to have something that's going to draw them together like that. There has to be that instant chemistry so that you can play out the rest of this very particular trope. And it was, you know, it was different in Cross the Line. That's like kind of, you know, they're friends already. They were, you know, childhood friends. It's her brother's best friend. So they've known each other. So there's already that kind of emotional undercurrent that you can kind of linger in and drag out. But with something like, oops, we got married in Vegas, you kind of have to give them a reason immediately right off the bat to want to be with each other. Even if it doesn't have to be that deep, you know, it's just like, wow, I find you very attractive and you're funny and we're drunk, let's go get married, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Sometimes, hey, when in Vegas, right?
When in Vegas, yeah.
So speaking of the tropes, Simone, what like drew you into writing those specific tropes? I know you said like Cross the Line was like, you know, they were childhood friends and it's like the best friend, sister, brother's best friend. And then Ride With Me, of course, is marriage of convenience. So what drew you into writing those specific tropes for each story?
Yeah, I think it all kind of, for me, with each story, it starts with the characters that I feel like are telling me they want their story told. So in the case of Cross the Line, you know, I felt like if I wanted to have Willow be this soft, caring, sort of, you know, lingering in the background, but, you know, kind of wanting something to happen in her life, I felt like it was just like, okay, well, what can we do with that? That can be, you know, some sort of childhood friends. It can be, you know, brother's best friend, like something where she's always kind of been on the sidelines and finally kind of gets to step into the spotlight. And then with Ride With Me, it was, this woman is an agent of chaos. And this man has just kind of ruined his own life by accident. What other chaotic situation can I put them in together? And it was just like, well, we're married in Vegas. And then you get the forced proximity of marriage of convenience. And so you have something that's keeping them together. And so, like, I guess with both books, it's also, you know, forced proximity because we have, you know, Willow working for Dave, and then we have Thomas and Stella in this marriage of convenience. And so, you know, I think they're for me, I really love the element of, oh no, we have to be together in close quarters. What will we do? What will happen? I always think there's something really fun about that. And so, you know, sometimes I don't even realize I'm writing a particular trope until I kind of look back and reread, and I'm like, oh, so that's what I did there. Okay. So I don't always set out to have a particular trope that I'm following. It's just, well, what works for these characters? What do I think they would do in a certain situation? You know, how do they interact with each other? And sometimes the tropes just evolve from there.
Okay. Yeah. So thinking about the trope again, still going on like that topic of tropes, are there any tropes that you are dying to explore and write about in this series in particular?
Let's see. There are some fun ones coming up. So I get to talk about book 3 pretty soon here.
Yeah.
Because
you can give us a little teaser in the meantime if you want.
I can, yes. So it's a controversial trope. It's one that a lot of people either they hate it or they love it. And so I was trying to find a middle ground with it, so that the lovers of it would still be able to love it, and the haters of it could kind of be like, well, it makes sense in this situation. It makes sense for these characters. And, you know, I love it for them. And so obviously it is accidental pregnancy, unexpected pregnancy, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people do not like it. And
no, I'm in.
I was going to say, I'm so in. I haven't read a trope like that yet either. So.
Yeah. So, you know, I know a lot of people don't care for it because of ways that they've seen it written before. And while I'm in no way saying that like I'm doing this in a very original way, it's just like, no, it's already been done before. Everything has been done before. You know, I've done it in a way that I feel like it really works for these two characters, and I feel like it is, you know, it was a deep want for them both, even though it came about in a way that was unexpected. And so, you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes over with a lot of people. And, you know, it is a trope that I typically don't care for in a lot of books because certain things aren't addressed in ways that make sense to me. And so I was doing my best to make sure in this story with these characters, you know, it made sense for them and it made sense for their love story and the way that they go about their lives with each other. And again, forced proximity in a way, because, you know, you're going to be raising a baby together. So yeah, that's a trope that's coming up, and well, obviously I've already written it. I'm in the thick of edits right now. So this is a woman on deadline. So I'm really excited, you know, for people to start getting a little teaser of that, a little taste of that. And then I don't know if I can talk about the tropes coming up after that, but I've got some fun ones in store, I will say, some of my personal favorites.
Because
We'll be
there's
sat and
5
ready.
books, right? In your full
Yes.
series plan.
There's going to be 5 books total.
Oh, that's so amazing.
You
I
hear
know,
from
right?
our
All of
ears.
them.
I'm really
Like-
glad.
Okay, I would love to ask, because we've talked about the characters and how they've kind of like sometimes controlled their own plot line.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Were there any characters that were just really rough to write, and any that like just literally fell onto the page with ease every time?
Honestly, I think for me, thankfully, I've been in a situation where I've been able to have these characters in my head for a long time now. And I've been, living with them, essentially developing them. And I don't think, because I've had that time with them, that any of them were difficult to write, honestly, because, I'd given myself that time to explore their characterization and their personalities and, who they were underneath kind of like the basics.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a little different when you're just like, right, I'm going to write a book that I haven't really thought about too much. Here we go. But for me, it's like, no, I've been thinking about all these books. I've been thinking about book 5 while in the middle of writing book 1. So no, none of them were difficult to write at all. But I think when it comes to the easiest one to write, probably Stella. She's my girl. Stella is my girl. She has many aspects of my own personality. And I like to say that those are the Leo traits coming out. So she was probably the easiest to write because she felt the most similar to me. It's just like, I think I would say all of my characters have some aspect of my personality in them. It's inescapable for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she was definitely the easiest because she felt like she had kind of my voice.
Yeah.
I would love to ask, there's one specific character that I wanted to fight for like 90% of your book. And then by the last 10%, I was like, oh no, okay, I get it now. Daphne.
Yes.
Was that a character that you knew exactly who she was from the beginning? Or was there like somewhere in the middle that you were like, no, let's make it a good cousin? Because I wanted to fight her for like 90% of your book.
Same here. I was just like,
honestly, that was the whole point. But yeah, I kind of knew from the beginning, this is a little spoilery, that, I like to believe that no character is just fully good or fully evil. There's always kind of a motivation behind what they're doing. And whether that motivation makes sense to anybody else, that's the big question here. And whether that motivation, ends up also harming people in its attempt to do good is also another question that you have to kind of work your way around. And so, kind of going into her character, it was, her kind of being like, well, I did this thing for you. I did it for you.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that you came out of this okay.
Yeah.
And so, it was kind of
weird way to go about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But she thought that was the right way to go about it.
Yeah.
And, kind of in the end, Stella is just like, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is wild, but I see her underlying reasoning. I see why she did it. Do I like it? Not really. But also look at the outcome. Look at where I am today. Look at how happy I am. So it's like Stella, she's not going to forgive her right off the bat, but it's still just like, okay, well, I understand why you did it. And I'm very thankful for where it has led me.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, she's a very polarizing character, I will say.
I honestly, she ended up becoming my favorite by the end of the book.
Oh, really?
I even was like, yeah, because I was like, you know what? This kind of fun.
Character arc.
I like what she did.
Yeah. No, because it's just like, I love having characters that are multifaceted that way. It's just like, even if they're side characters, sometimes you just kind of have to be like, well, that's not all they are. That's not everything that they are. So yeah, I had fun with that one.
No, I feel like we definitely talked about it in our books podcast, but like I don't know why. I feel like all of us end up talking more about the side characters than we do the main characters.
Side characters are fun.
They're just especially so when they like stick out and everything like that. They're not just literally to the side. Like they actually have some involvement in the plot.
They play a role. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So no,
but
it
was good.
Great. Thank you.
Good plot twist. Good plot twist.
Now, thinking about both books, were there any scenes or like moments in either one or both in general that readers slide into your DMs most about?
Let's see. Probably, but we've already kind of talked about it, but the strip club scene from Ride With Me, a lot of people are like, I was not expecting that. Oh my gosh. But but they always kind of come around to the place where they're like, well, it worked. It worked for them. It was, unexpected in that it was, happening so soon, but it made sense. It had its place. It had its reasoning. It wasn't just there to be like, oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh, smutty scene so soon.
Me.
Yeah. But I'm sure you saw what it led to and how it developed.
It was so good. Once I realized why you did it, I was like, oh we're getting into this quick.
It's like it comes to a point where you're just like, I get it now. Yeah. But in the moment you're kind of like, oh my goodness, all right.
It's very scandalous.
We're going for it right now already. Yeah.
Like spoilers, but yo girl, I would just remember reading it, and I was texting Amy and Melissa, which is another member of our podcast.
Yeah.
And she was just like, because Amy doesn't get phased at all by Spice.
Yeah.
So she was like, Chelsea, you sweet baby angel. And I was like, this is a lot.
No, I understand. It's like everybody has different Spice tolerance levels and what you expect. But I will say,
going back to what we were talking about earlier, there was still some weird, really good respect going on.
Yeah, it was. I
was just like, why is this so respectful?
No, I think that's a very important aspect of also writing smutty scenes in certain books. And it's like, dark romance is a completely different, outlier kind of here. But having that consent, having that conversation, that back and forth, because, with Stella and Thomas, it was banter, but it was also checking in on each other. It was, making sure the other one was okay with this and where they were in that moment. And so that's also really important to me in any sort of, smutty scene that I write. Yeah. It's that mutual respect, no matter what the circumstances are.
Yeah.
Consent is hot.
It is. Yeah. It can be banter. It can be fun back and forth.
And that's what I was going to say. The way you wrote it, like, it made, like, at least for me, like, in certain books I've read, whenever, like, they go through, like, the consenting part and everything, sometimes I'm just like, I roll my eyes because I'm like, it's so cringy sometimes. I felt like in your books, they were like, okay, no, like, I'm a big fan of like that back and forth banter where it's like really flirty and everything. I'm like, oh, okay.
I know. I love writing it. It's so much fun. And, it's like you can get these really important topics across in a fun way, especially if they have that kind of connection of that they're on the same wavelength of humor and banter, and they're able to have that back and forth. So I think it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree. Great. Now, Simone, if you had to pick one word to describe Cross the Line and one word for Ride With Me, what would you use without using words from the title?
Cross the line. I mean, I'd probably just say cute. She's cute. She's adorable. So cute. She's a nice, sweet girl.
Yeah.
And then Ride With Me is definitely, let's see, I'd say grown. Like, she's a grown up. She's a grown
woman.
She's a grown woman. She knows who she is. Yeah, exactly.
No, I like those words a lot because I know we talked about it when we were reviewing the books where it's like, it's a complete, like, I don't want to say like 180, but like you said,
it is.
Yeah, it's
both
different.
Books were just like such like different levels of like the maturity and like the plot and all that stuff where I was just like, this one, I was like ready for like another like cute, like little like, ooh, fall in love. And I was like, oh.
No, wait. Saying that, I remember we talked about it on the episode. This felt like me in college.
Yeah,
very cute, very romantic, very positive like about relationships.
Yes.
And then this is me after college when I realized he's kind of
you've lived some life at that point. Yeah. And it's also, it depends on the character ages as well, because like Willow has just graduated from college. When I think back to who I was at 21, having just graduated, trying to get my land legs in the adult life, I was a baby. I was an infant child, honestly.
Literally.
Just so young, so fresh to everything, still learning so much. And so, I think Willow really embodies that. And I think, yes, Dev is a little older. I think he's just about, 4 years older or so, but he's had time to kind of live some life. He's
Yeah.
had, you know, he didn't go to college. He just immediately kind of went into racing and had to be a grown up pretty fast while also still being so young, you know.
Yeah.
Mid-20s is still so young. And he's still
It
figuring
really
out
is.
the world too, and he's still figuring out a lot of life. And so, you know, it's kind of, I don't want to say coming of age, but it's also, they're growing up together.
Right.
And then in the case of Ride With Me, they're both in their mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
You know, Stella's just been left at the altar. She's had relationships. She's had, you know, these big life-changing things. She's lived with a man. She's started a business. She's grown. She's an adult. She has done, you know, so many big life things.
Yeah.
And so has Thomas at that point. You know, it's like, yeah, he's been in Formula One for long enough now that he's just like, all right, I think I have a handle on things. I think I've kind of settled in as much as I can.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that really just kind of shows in their books, just the ages and the difference between being, you know, in your early 20s and then being in your late 20s. And then I will say with book 3, they are in their 30s. They are adults. They are, you know,
we need more of that.
Yeah, we definitely do, because I don't know
There are
about you
too
guys,
many
but sometimes-
books where the girl's 20, and I'm like, I've been past that for a while now, honey. Like
a very long time.
Oh yeah. And I think it's important that we have this range of ages, and we're not just kind of being like, well, your life ends when you turn 22. Sorry. Like you didn't find your life partner by the time you turn 23. Ooh, oh no. I'm so sorry, but you're out of luck. And it's not the case. It's, you know, your early 20s, like, yes, you could find the love of your life that young and be with them forever. And I think that's wonderful.
Like,
but it's
good for you, Willow.
Yeah, exactly. But I also think it's great to see the people who have, you know, found that love later in their lives or have had love and lost it and then are trying to find it again. And I think, you know, having that variety of life phases and stages represented in romance is also so important, because I'm definitely not 21 anymore. You know, I've figured out a lot of life already. And so, you know, I really want to be able to show kind of, you know, from those beginning early 20s, you know, into your 30s and show that, you know, you can still find love no matter how old you are and where you are in life.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's very true. Very, very true. Now, thinking beyond Lights Out, because we can talk about this like all day long. I know I can. What drew you first into writing, Simone? And like, when did you realize you had a story or stories to tell?
I realized literally like yesterday that I have been writing for 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I've been writing since like I was like a little baby, like tween teenager. Posting online. I like y'all are probably too young, but like I started on Quizilla and then moved on to like Fiction Press and Wattpad. Like I've had all of those stages. So I've been writing for a really long time. And then, you know, I had a job as a ghostwriter, and then, you know, kind of decided I'm ready to write my own stuff now, you know, get back to that. And, you know, I wrote Cross the Line thinking, well, I mean, yay, it's nice to write my own book again. I'm gonna try and self-publish it, and then, you know, still work a different job, you know, still do other things. And then that completely changed, and, you know, Cross the Line got picked up for traditional publishing, and then I became, you know, a full-time author. So it's kind of been a very wild journey, because I never really thought that writing full-time, like my own books, was going to be my life path. Like I went to university and got a degree in geography. I was a geospatial analyst, and then now I'm like, okay, well, I'm a full-time author now. So yeah, it's been a process.
Life. Yeah, and that's life. It just takes you different paths sometimes that you don't expect. So,
it'll take you where you need to go.
Exactly. I definitely agree.
Yeah,
I always think everything happens for a reason.
I agree.
So
yeah, no, and I'm very happy where I am.
Maybe you'll write like a F1 romance and he falls in love with like a scientist or something.
Maybe. You never know. We'll have to wait and see.
I would read it.
100%.
Well, thanks.
I do have to ask.
I'll jot that down.
credit me
Yeah, just
in the
a little,
bottom?
yeah.
Book 4.
Yeah. Book 45 at this point, yeah.
Right.
So you said you were going to try self-publishing, right?
Yeah.
What was it like then when you got brought into a publishing team? Was it something that you were going out and looking for? Or was it something that kind of found you?
It fell into my lap.
Really?
It was, yeah, no, it was very unexpected. It was, I think, a week before I was scheduled to self-publish Cross the Line.
Oh, wow.
I had an editor from a publishing house drop me an email being like, hey, I would love to read your manuscript. Could you send it my way? And I'm just like, okay, yeah, sure. And then another editor emailed me, and then another editor.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, okay, this must be a serious thing. Then.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I sent the manuscript over to them and not thinking anything was going to happen. I still have everything uploaded to Amazon. I was still ready to go. And then a couple days after that, I got an offer from one of the editors being like, we want to buy this. We want to publish it. Can we make a deal?
Yeah.
And so, it was one of those things that it really just, it fell into my lap. I didn't query, I didn't have to go out on submission or do any of like the really scary stuff that a lot of traditionally published authors have to do. Which, first of all, I'm very grateful for, because that seems terrifying. And, it was an immense privilege to be able to go about it that way. And, I love my publishing teams. It's like I'm with Berkeley in the US and then Pan Macmillan in the UK. And they're just such wonderful, helpful people. And, while I was in the process of trying to get everything together for self-publishing, it's just like, wow, you have to do everything by yourself. You have to do everything on your own. You have to pay for everything out of pocket and simply hope that you make money, simply hope that you sell books. But with traditional publishing, it was like, hey, you have help here. You have a helping hand to get you through all of this and handle a lot of the big, scary stuff. So I am very thankful that opportunity came my way. But also self-publishing is great too,
Yeah.
Each one has its own merits.
100%.
Yeah.
They definitely do.
Did you end up, in that case, when you ended up going to the publishing house, was there anything that you had to change in your writing after working with the editor from what you were originally going to self-publish?
With Cross the Line, we pretty much just did very minor edits. There were some things that we changed around, and obviously it was really nice to have another set of professional eyes on the manuscript. So we made some like minor changes, but it mostly stayed the same.
Nice.
As to what I was planning to self-publish. And then Ride With Me was like my first book that was like officially under contract with a traditional publishing house. And so that was a very different writing process for me. Even though it was kind of like they gave me free reign, essentially. They were like, we know that you already have ideas for the series. We've kind of reviewed them, because like I showed them, what I had in mind. And they were like, go for it, write your book. And so I did. And, I think with Ride With Me, we made also very minor changes.
Right.
Because, it's like, I've been writing for so long that I kind of, I have the structure down. I have, the knowledge of how do we put together a book? How do we, make this make sense? And so again, minor edits, it was just a very truncated schedule. So, you do a lot of developmental edits, and then you have copy edits, and then you have proofreads. And so there's just a lot of back and forth with a larger group of people. And then with book 3, I will say that we made some major changes. I essentially, I turned in, I wrote it kind of act by act. So it's a 3-act book. And so I started and I turned in the first act, and then, kind of got started writing the second act of the book. And then I heard back from my editors, and they were like, hey, what if we make these changes? And so, when you're self-publishing, yes, you might hire someone to help you with developmental edits and stuff like that. But it really comes down to you and your taste and exactly what you want to see. But in traditional publishing, it is a group effort. It is, it's you plus your editors. And yes, you probably have final say in what you want to write and how you want, the story to come across. But you also have this team of professionals being like, well, what if we try this? We think from our knowledge and our research that this could work better. And, when you're writing and you get that feedback, because writing is so solitary and personal sometimes, you're just kind of like, oh my God, my feelings are hurt. Oh my gosh, like I did this wrong. No, it definitely hurts. Every time I get a round of edits, I'm like, ouchie, that hurt me a little bit. But also I see where they're coming from, and I see, how they're right a lot of times. Not all the time. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut and be like, no, I want to do it this way. But in a lot of circumstances, it's like, oh, I have these people who are helping me and they're going to make this better. And so I rewrote the entire first act of the book, which put me behind schedule, which is why this book is coming out a little later in the year than
I will gladly wait.
Okay, I'm so glad.
That's all I'm going to tell you, Simone. I will gladly wait.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
We'll wait however long.
I won't make you wait too long.
We don't like
I
to
promise.
rush authors in this podcast.
We understand.
Thank you. Yeah. Thankfully, it's still coming out this year, because there was a point where I was just like, oh dear, this book might not be coming out in 2026.
Because in your head, do you have them coming out once a year?
Yes. I wish I could be a faster writer, but like the way that my brain works and the care that I want to be able to put into things, I personally need more time. I know a lot of authors who can do it much faster and put out fantastic quality books much quicker than I can, but that's not who I am. I like to sit with things. I like to really kind of let it marinate. And so, with this book, when they told me, hey, like, what if we try this instead? I was just like, oh my gosh, okay.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from completely. And so, I rewrote it, and it, kind of put me behind schedule, but it was so much stronger for those edits. And I'm very thankful to my editors for suggesting those changes, even though it hurt me at the time very much.
It's like a good hurt at the same time. It's a good
hurt. Yeah. I feel stronger now,
And it's like, it sets up like your like expectations for like the next round, where it's like, okay, they like this from like my last one, like let's set it up that way. So
exactly. And
it makes sense.
It definitely it's helpful. It makes you stronger, a stronger writer, and just it makes sense all around.
Yeah, exactly. So in that you're getting ready, it could be like, you get your book but you're like your story back from your editors, and you have to like rewrite something, or you're just writing a whole new book over again. Or not over again, but you're just writing a new one in general. What gets you into like that flow state? Like, how do you get yourself ready to just kind of just get into zone and write?
I'm big on, having a themed playlist and having certain songs that I relate to certain books. And so like my Spotify is a mess. My playlists are just kind of all over the place. And so, I like to be able to kind of have that music in the background to kind of guide me along and encourage me to, be in that story, in that particular world. So yeah, I'm a big fan of just putting on music and then kind of sitting down and going for it.
Okay. No, yeah. I'm the same way as you. I always, my Apple Music is a hub.
Yeah, no, I have so many random playlists for books that I will probably never write, but I'm still just like, ooh, that'd be the perfect song for that one.
Yeah, no, it makes all sense.
Yeah.
It's just like, it all depends on the mood. I'm a shuffle person on like my Apple Music.
Yep.
And how everyone else is, and I'm like, okay, I like this song, but like not in the mood. Let me skip it.
Yeah, no, same. It's like I'm a chronic skipper when it comes to, because like I'm always putting it on shuffle and then just being like, okay, well, I don't want that one, don't want that one, don't want that one. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly. We get it.
You get me.
Now, were there like any scenes in like the early stages of like either book or even like the third one coming out later on this year that like just evolved differently from how you had originally planned?
I'd say with Cross the Line, not really. It was, again, like I've sat with these books and these characters and these outlines for so long that I don't think I really had to change all that much in that aspect, and it didn't really come across any differently. Same with Ride With Me. And then, we've already kind of talked about, book 3 and, rewriting those first few chapters and stuff like that. And, I think that's pretty much the only time anything came across a little differently, that I went back and reassessed and said, this isn't, how I imagined it in my head. Like, let me try this again. Usually it's like, again, because I sit, I marinate, I daydream, I spend so much time with these characters thinking about them. Everything by then I have it figured out. And so I can put it down on the page the way I want to see it. So I'm very thankful that is my writing process, because it usually means that I don't have to go back very often to fix things. So I'm one of those people who writes a very clean first draft, in the sense of everything is where I pretty much want it to be. But my outlines, those are wild. Those are ridiculous. Those have everything that has ever gone through my head. And then I kind of I pare it down from there when I start writing that official first draft. Okay. So I know a lot of people write very messy first drafts, and I wish I could be one of them, but I simply cannot.
Hey, everyone has their style.
Exactly. We all have our different ways of doing things.
I do have to ask, were there any moments in the real world of Formula One that inspired anything in your books?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all the drama, the politics, the scandals, all of the things that happen behind the scenes, I definitely drew inspiration from those. It's, when you're thinking about, like, cheating scandals and stuff like that, it's like, well, of course I'm gonna, try and work in something like that. Or, wild contract negotiations where it's like, you don't think this person's going to go to this team, but wait a second, here we go.
Plot twist.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely I draw from those circumstances and those kind of vague ideas of the chaos that can happen in Formula One, and, silly season especially, and all of the unexpected things that happen. So yeah, I definitely draw from those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there any
Paddock.
Yeah.
Were there any drivers you drawed from when you were designing your characters?
Honestly, I think I drew a little bit from all of them, because they all kind of have the same, in the end, underlying traits of these are extremely dedicated people. These are people who have sacrificed so much in a lot of circumstances to be where they are today. And so you kind of have to have a very distinct personality. It's despite, how different all the drivers in the grid are, you have to have kind of the same driving traits in order to reach that level of success, to be able to, get to that point. And so I drew inspiration from those aspects of real life drivers. And I think, sometimes a lot of the drivers fit into certain, like, character arcs in a way. And, when you think about certain tropes, like, the posh Brit, the very uptight, posh, man. I'm sure you can think of a certain Formula One driver in real life who fits that, but also that's also just a trope. It's a cliche. It's, a character type that you see often in writing. And so, a lot of the real life drivers fit those things, but also I don't think I can say that any one character is based off of, like, any one driver. It would be like, well, this character is based off, like, the traits of 5 different drivers. Yeah. Or, kind of draws from the history or the background of a certain driver because of, how, generalized you can have, certain things of where people come from and their struggles to get to a very specific level of motorsport. Yeah. So yeah, and it's like, obviously I work in the real life struggles of certain drivers. I think of, Lewis Hamilton and the racism he faces. Yeah. Yeah. And just, the prejudice that exists. And, I make sure that is in my books. Like, yes, these are mostly lighthearted rom-coms, but they are grounded in real life. Yeah. It's like I've made them a little fantastical in the sense of the grid is more diverse. Yeah. And there are more, women and people of color in higher up roles and, stuff like that. The things that I want to see. But it is still grounded in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have a story that's grounded in a certain very particular way, I think, it happens that, you can make these comparisons and, draw conclusions that, yes, this person is based off of this person. When in reality, it's just like, well, yeah, I mean, I took some traits, but I'm not writing fan fiction, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I do want to ask real quick, just jumping off of that, because I don't think I remembered asking, but in that case, who inspired Willow and Stella? Like, because you're not wrong, you brought a lot of diversity into the book. That was actually something I remember we talked about.
Yeah.
So was there a reason that you brought like that specific diversity? Because I think it was he was Indian, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And then she was also biracial. Love Stella. Like, so there's also her, and then we have the British man. Like, there's a lot of different ethnicities and cultures going on, and I feel like it's written so well that there's only 2 jerk faces in each book that are kind of like racist.
Yeah.
But I love seeing it because I'm like, I don't know, I feel like there's so much representation for anyone that wants to read this book now.
Yeah. I mean, it's because that's my life. That is the life that I live. It's like I myself am multiracial. It's like I'm Black and Persian and some other things thrown in there too. And so, my friend group is diverse. My life and my family and the area I grew up in is incredibly diverse. And so I figured, why not have that in my books? Why not, act like this is completely normal, because it is. This is my normal. This is my life. And this is the things that this is what I see every day. And so, Willow being biracial was just like, well, yes, because, I am. And I have that lived experience. I know what that's like. I know what it is like to, have that kind of background. And, well, with Dave, it's, obviously I'm not Indian, but, I grew up with, friends and family from, like that particular culture. And, I have deep respect for it. And I think that's also important. It's that you kind of have to know certain things. You have to have a respect for it. You have to have you want to have that knowledge and that understanding. And I think, in my books, I really hope that comes across.
I think you really definitely did in Dev's sister's wedding.
Yeah.
Yes. I was just thinking of that.
So well, and it was written so well, and even we talked about it. We're like, oh, like it makes us want to go,
right?
It was described so. I mean, we spoke about it, but like respectfully, but also just like beautifully.
Like, it's like a culture appreciation as opposed to culture appropriation.
Yes. And it's like, I think it's also important when you're writing characters outside of your own culture or ethnicity that you're not kind of focusing on their struggles, that you're not kind of focusing on, well, this is the specific, racism that they face, or this is the specific problem that this culture faces. Yeah. And I think it's important to celebrate the joy and the beautiful aspects and all that kind of stuff. And also, I love Bollywood movies. I grew up watching Bollywood movies. And so, that aspect of the book, having that love for Bollywood movies, I think, it comes across that this is something I love. This is something I appreciate. And then, with Stella, she is a Black woman. She is a dark-skinned Black woman. And so many women in my family are dark-skinned Black women, and I wanted to show, a Black woman being loved out loud and, just having that representation there for the women that I love. And, having, those characters where people can relate to them who say, well, I don't usually see characters that look like me in books like this.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to have that, for selfish reasons,
as
undoubtedly, it's just like, I want to be on the page. I want to see myself because I don't often. And I know other people feel the same way. So, that kind of aspect of diversity was, really important to me because I'm like, well, I'm selfish. I want to see me. And also I want to see the people that I love. I want to see them being loved out loud. So it kind of felt like a no-brainer to me,
Yeah. No. I get it. I totally get it. I like that way that you explained it. Want to see yourself in
Yeah.
other people you love, being loved out loud. I like that. Now, I know you mentioned a little bit how you've been into F1 for like the past like 10 years plus. So we want to know who your favorite teams, drivers, could be more than one, because we're all like on
we all
on this
have
podcast,
more than one.
we all definitely have like that top one, but then we have like the next closest top one.
There's levels to this.
There is. Yeah.
And any favorite tracks that you may have gone to, you would love to go to?
Yeah. Okay, well, favorite driver, obviously Lewis Hamilton. He is the one who got me into this sport because, you know, when I was, you know, just kind of really starting out, it was, oh my gosh, this man looks like me. This is, you know, the only Black biracial man in this sport. And look at him win. Yeah. And it was just such a wonderful thing to see and have that representation. So he is my number one forever and always. And everyone is just a very, very, very distant second. I'm a fan of Oscar Piastri. There's something about him that I'm like, you awkward child.
We all love that.
You're great. And you know, I really like Alex Albon too. So, you know, those are kind of like my
good
top
range.
Three. Yeah.
Range.
You know? And then obviously I am a suffering Ferrari fan.
Hey, we're part of the club.
We're all just there. Getting my feelings hurt constantly. It's
exactly.
Oh boy. Yeah, no. And let's see, tracks that I've been to. I've been to Coda, I've been to Austin, I've done that a couple times. And then last year I went to Zandvoort, which was a lot of fun. Cool. It was so great. I mean, double Ferrari DNF when I was there, but you know, what can you do?
I would say that happened to me too in Brazil, so can relate.
Oh yeah, yep. And that Brazil is one that I want to go to. I think that's like my top one. So I'm gonna try to get there one of these days.
Definitely go. We went this past November, my fiance and I, and he's like you, big Lewis Hamilton fan. I like when I got into sport was more like Charles, but like I love Lewis just as much too. So like we were like, oh yay, like woohoo.
They wore their cute little Ferrari outfit.
We were Ferrari'd out like the whole weekend, and like he also like goes for like Mercedes because he likes Kimmy and George too. But like I was just like straight Ferrari, and like that whole weekend I was just like, can't wait. I mean, the only plus side to like the whole DNFs, Charles DNF like right in front of my grandstand.
Oh god!
So I just hear like my fiance's like, oh my god, his car, and he just sees me disappear.
Yeah. Oh no, just hurtful, just getting your feelings hurt up close and personal.
Yep. I was just like, you know what, this is a plus side. And then a few laps later it was Lewis, and we're just like, so we paid how much money to see this win?
No, literally, it was just like, well, okay, all right, I guess that's just how things go.
But definitely recommend Brazil. That track, it was our first like race in general, but the people there the Brazilian people were so welcoming and so nice. The track is beautiful, lots of walking. And the food, I can only imagine that it's just so good. It's very high on my list, and same with Singapore. So like those are like my top two right now that I'm like, I must get there one of these days when
Singapore
I'm not on
sounds
deadline.
Beautiful.
It does.
It definitely does.
I do have one question. And I think I let you know already that I was going to ask this just in case. But can you tell us about the artists that you worked with for your book covers? Because we love the designs. I think they like match the storyline so well for both of them.
Yeah, so the cute cover designer is Lenny Kaufman. She is my hero. I love her. She does such beautiful, amazing work. And the funny thing is, like, every time I give her a cover brief, I'm always just like, oh, well, we're probably going to have to make some changes. That's just how art works. And then she sends me a sketch and it's perfect. And I'm like, I want no changes. And every time she comes back and she's just like, are you sure? Like, no changes? I'm like, it's perfect. It's
artist
so
knows
wonderful.
best.
She does. Exactly. And she just knows what works so well. And so with Cross the Line, I knew that I wanted to work with her. You know, that was back when I was self-publishing. And I was on her wait list for, I want to say like a year and a half. before
God.
she could do my cover. But that's just how much I knew that I wanted her for
Definitely
the
worth the
covers.
wait.
It
Oh,
was.
well, for fans
Absolutely.
watching, this is the
Yeah.
book. Oh my goodness, Chelsea. Here's the book.
We love
This
it.
Yeah.
is beautiful.
She did such a wonderful job. And, you know, it's like, I also with the covers, it was just like, well, I knew I wanted to have the characters on the front. And I also wanted to have, you know, the main setting of the book. And so, you know, book 1 is Monaco. And then book 2 is Vegas. Yes, there she is.
Love her.
And so book 3 will also have the big city in the background of where where a big part or a very important part of the book is set. So we will be getting a cover reveal later this month. I can say that.
Ooh, okay.
I'm so excited. I've been sitting on it since August, and
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was at Zandvoort.
I would be itching.
Yeah, I was at Zandvoort. I was on my way back to our hotel, and I got an email from my editor being like, "Oh, hey, we have cover sketches," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
I would
So it was, like,
accidentally
perfect
slip
timing.
my finger and post.
It was like, I know, I was
Like,
so
oh
difficult
no,
not.
my stories.
Yeah, oops. Oh no. But yeah, no, I'm so excited to show it because Lenny did an amazing job once again. She can do no wrong, I swear.
So that's really cool. You're gonna keep working with her until the 5th book, then hopefully.
Yes, thankfully that's one thing about, you know, having a publishing house behind you. They organize all this stuff. And they have her locked in for the entire series, which I am very thankful for.
I love that. They're gonna keep her.
They're gonna keep her. As long as she'll keep us.
Everyone's winning. Everyone's winning. That's a good thing. Right?
So I'm very excited.
Yeah. Now, Simone, I know I was so happy about this, like, because I feel like it's barely ever mentioned. So I'm from Maryland, so like the DMV area. I didn't grow up in it. I lived in it for a little bit, but I still consider myself one. So both of our female main characters are from the DC area. So I'm gonna assume you are a DMV girly too.
Yes.
So tell me, what are some of your favorite spots in the area?
Let's see. My favorite bookstore is definitely East City Books in DC.
Okay.
They have done my pre-order campaigns for the past 2 books, and they're just fabulous. Everybody there is so nice. I did both my release events for Cross the Line and Ride With Me there. Just the greatest people on the planet. I just pop in from time to time. Well, I mean, I buy my books there, but also just to see everybody and just say hi.
Yeah.
So they're fabulous. I'm going to be so honest and tell you, I do not leave my house a lot these days.
I don't either. It's okay.
I simply, I don't go out a lot because most of the time I am on deadline.
Yeah.
And I also hate the cold. So
we still have like a foot of snow.
Same. It is like my entire street is just like, I live on this like really big hill. And so it's just like anytime it snows or there's ice, it's just like, well, I guess I'm here for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then like we had some wild wind yesterday and it was like, no, I'm going to just stay in my house and,
nice and
not go anywhere. So, no, I don't go out and do much, but I will say my 2 things that I go out for are books and desserts.
That's very valid.
So my favorite,
any dessert spots?
yes, Baked and Wired in Georgetown. They do the best cupcakes. I've been going there since they opened a long time ago, I think.
I love a good cupcake. So like I'm over here like mentally making notes next time I go out.
So like, when I visit you,
yes, exactly.
Yep, you go get cupcakes.
Because I'm in Miami, so it's just really hot right now.
Oh, you have warmth. I miss the warmth. I'm gonna come visit you. Yeah.
If you guys want to do a Miami F1 race, you can join us.
I really want to one of these days. So we'll have to maybe do an in-person
Hit me up, Simone.
event.
Hit me up.
Yes.
Okay, well, wait. Speaking of connecting, can you let our listeners know the best... Oh, that was my dog.
Oh, hi, puppy.
Teddy said, I am here.
I think he saw a squirrel. I'm so
so
sorry.
lucky my dogs are being quiet right now because one of them, I have like an 85-pound dog and he just has the biggest, scariest bark. And it's just like, oh, bud.
And I bet he's a sweet boy.
He's the sweetest. And it's just like, he's this big old scary cat, honestly, but sweet boy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a pit who's an old lady sleeping behind me and her little sister, a black cat. Also sleeping.
I love that.
Like, she likes to perch up here, and I'm like,
oh, I love that.
They're both
He's letting you work today.
Yeah, a miracle.
Never happens.
Never.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was going to ask, if you're listening, the best way to connect with you online, your Instagram, if you have a website or anything that you want listeners to go to.
Yeah, my Instagram is probably the best place for, up-to-date information. So I'm Simone Soltani on Instagram. I post on Threads very occasionally, but it never occurs to me to post there most of the time. And then I do have a website, simonesoltani.com, which has kind of links to everything and all of the events that I'm doing, which right now aren't that many. And, release dates for books and where you can find them and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay, real quick, speaking of events, do you have any upcoming this year?
Yeah, the main one I'm doing is actually this upcoming weekend. I'm not sure when this gets coming out, but Valentine's Day, I'm going to be at Love Y'all Fest in Atlanta.
This will be live.
Yeah, okay. So that's pretty much the only event that I have scheduled right now because book 3 is coming out later this year. I think I can go ahead and say that it's coming out on November 10th. So we do finally have an official release date in the US. Yay, I've been waiting. So that'll be out later in the year. And I'm sure, by summertime, early fall, I'll have, more events planned and listed. But, I'm hoping to be able to visit some independent bookstores and hopefully do some events there.
Well, we can't wait to buy it. So
thank
it
you.
will be added to
I'll
my
be getting
collection.
early copies, you know it.
Thank you. I'm gonna be in line at one of the book things and be like, "Hello, we spoke."
Hello. Yeah, exactly. And I'll be
It is I. It is I.
It's so good to see
you. Now I know you have book 3 in the works and everything like that, and then it's gonna be a 5-book series. But are there any projects you're working on outside of the F1 universe?
I always try to have some other projects going at all times. Nothing official, nothing really under contract or anything like that, but just I think it's always a good idea to kind of have side projects. And so when you kind of get stuck on something or feel like you're, coming up against a wall, you can kind of switch your brain to something else. So, I'm always working on some little side project and stuff like that. But right now it's pretty much F1 all the time.
Sounds like us.
Yeah.
Definitely sounds like us. And that brings us to the checkered flag on today's episode. Huge thank you to Simone Soltani for joining us and giving us such an inside look, not into your brain yourself, but also to cross the line and ride with me. 2 books full of tension. Oh, yeah, book. I'm like, what happened? Yeah, 2 books full of tension, heart, and perfectly timed emotional overtakes. Definitely worth the read. I am very excited for book 3 coming out after my birthday, so I'm going to think of that as my birthday present.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
Of
No,
course.
we're so happy you agreed to come on.
Yeah.
Anytime you just want to gab, I'm here.
Yeah. Now, again, make sure you're following Simone on social media. She is at Simone Soltani, and you can grab her books wherever you get your romance reads. Trust us, your TBR will thank you. Bump it up to the top. It's worth it. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow us at Paddock Girls Podcast on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube for race recaps, hot takes, and all things F1, including our fabulous book club. Rate, review, subscribe, and share the pod with your F1 and bookish friends. And be sure to tune in next week where we are diving into Lights Out by Avon Ellis, the latest addition to our book club. Bye-bye.
Bye.